Hey everybody, how are you tonight? I haven't done a video in a few days. I don't know, it's been 3, 4 days, but excuse me, I've been a pretty busy person lately. Uh, Still been researching. My eBay store has been really busy. We've been running a sale. I've been shipping quite a few items out. Shipped out over 400 items this month in April, last month, and just been busy. One of the things that's been keeping me busy was some appointments to get this thing. Now, what this is a psychological evaluation. So this is an independent psychological evaluation that I had administered. I paid a lot of money to have this done. It was recommended to me by my attorney. And I understand that the justice system does not function normally. If you use common sense and you just think normally, you're not going to make it through the legal system very well. There's different ways they do things, and there's different communication. There's different. It's just like a different language. And they do things. They make different decisions for different reasons that we don't understand here in us that operate here in the real world. And I get that, but my experience so far with my attorney, in my opinion, there are some things that happened when I was arrested that they should be really going after, like the fact that I asked for an attorney 3 or 4 times and they just the police officers kept badgering me, asking me questions. I asked for an attorney. They wouldn't give me my phone. They told me I'd have one available when I went to jail. There'd be a phone book, I could call one. Never got an opportunity to call an attorney, and some of the things that happened during the incident, that they should be looking up video footage, surveillance footage from the gas station that I was at, things like that I would think would be very important to get them to drop these charges. But instead, my attorney is going there. It's like they're completely ignoring the fact that I shouldn't have been arrested in the first place for this. They're just saying, well, these are serious charges. You could be facing all this time, and you should really just take the plea deal so you don't have to go to prison. And I'm like, well, we're bypassing the fact that I shouldn't be going in here in the first place. We need to look at a lot of the evidence and go, and I'm like, why is this not operating like I would think it would? You watch detective shows on TV, and they just start digging in. Okay, well, if this happened, we can place this person at this time. We can get this video, and we can, it doesn't happen like that in real life. They do things differently. So my attorney has been talking me into taking this plea deal, which, if I don't take the plea deal and I am convicted, I will do mandatory minimum 5 years, maximum 15 years. I only have one charge. There were 3 charges originally. They dropped the other 2 because they, I don't know why they dropped those. But, so these guys told me that if I get this psychological evaluation done, that it would benefit me in my case. And they never mentioned that they were going for a mental, they wanted to find something wrong with me to show why I did this, and that why they should show leniency on me for doing this, when in actuality that's not where we should be headed with this. We should be investigating the people that are involved in organized stalking and harassment. But as far as the justice system and the psychological world, um, gang stalking does not exist. Somebody following you, somebody slandering you and harassing you, that cannot exist in this world. And that if you observe anything like that, that you are clearly delusional. Uh, so I found the broken part in our system, and I found the reason why a lot of people have become incarcerated or incarcerated in a mental facility and controlled, managed, and manipulated because they spoke the truth about their reality, and their reality does not exist within the testing system of all of this. So I'm going to explain some of that. And I think what happened is I might have got myself immersed into this whole thing without thinking 20 steps ahead, but it's still working out in my favor. Not really in my favor because I'm going to be punished for this, for doing what I'm doing. But I think I've made the decision to go ahead and submit this psychological evaluation. I am going to have to be evaluated again after this case. If I accept the plea deal, I'm going to have to check in with a psychiatrist. They're going to evaluate me. I might get wrapped up in the system, and they might try to throw me away in a mental facility. But there isn't really a way that you can completely understand the scope of something unless you become completely involved in it. And somebody that I admire that is doing something similar has inspired me to make this decision. And that person is David Voigts, a former Navy nuclear surface warfare officer. I think I got that right. But David found out about this program, what was going on, and what he needed to do to get himself put into the program, to do something about it. And man, that took a lot of integrity. That took a lot of self-sacrifice. It took true love for your country, true love for your Constitution, and a lot of grit to do something like that. And I thought, well, okay. David did that. He swore to protect the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. And I did the same thing. I raised my hand and I swore to defend our Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I've always stuck to that, which is probably how I ended up getting targeted. Because I saw some of our domestic enemies and I started speaking out about those people before a lot of other people started catching on to what was going on. So what I'm probably going to end up doing, and what I could do if I don't want the court system, the justice system, to have any idea that this report was ever made, I could just burn this thing, throw it out in the backyard, throw it in the trash, put it in the blender, whatever, and my $4,500 is gone, and this is gone, and there's never any trace of it. But I don't think that would be the best thing to do for society and forward progress for targeted individuals, because this report is very telling. And I think that one of the biggest reasons for the slow progress for targeted individuals is because a lot of the information that a target needs to disseminate to the public is either embarrassing, it is incriminating, there's just a lot of things that happen to you that you would prefer not to pass that information on to somebody. And I think maybe what we need to do, what I'm doing, is I'm just going ahead and passing along information, personal information about my life, my personal life, and the events that are transpiring as I move forward in this program and I learn more about what is actually going on, who's involved, funding, things like that. I don't want to talk about this stuff online. I don't want to talk about this stuff to strangers. I don't want to tell people things that have happened to me. But if I don't, then other people won't get that information and be able to match it up with their information and say, yeah, I recognize this, I recognize this is the same thing that happened to me. 10,000 people see my video, 5,000 of them can identify with me, maybe start some kind of group because of the information that I disseminated. I made forward progress. It might hurt me initially for talking about my personal information and putting that out there, because that gives the perpetrators more information about me, more fuel for the fire, and a heads up on what I possibly could be doing and which way I'm going with this. But I think the overall outcome of me talking about a psychological evaluation that is connected to a court case, the benefit will be tenfold, for other people, because this is one of the key things right here that is holding people back from ending this. Okay, so when you get a psychological evaluation, you take. And I thought this would take a lot longer. I thought that I would sit down with the doctor for 10 to 12 hours. An hour or two each session, and we would talk about things. I would give him information, he would ask me questions, and he would write down a bunch of notes, and he would evaluate all the stuff and go, no, 1 hour, and he browsed through the items that I gave him, all of the information, detailed information on targeting, where it comes from, the structure, the breakdown, everything, and he mentions that in this report too. Yeah, man, lose track. So, but anyway, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. I don't have a script here. I'm just I just sit down and talk about what comes out. So I forget what I've talked about sometimes. So. All right. So, long story short, I might possibly take this plea deal and submit this psychological evaluation, even though I know that it might be detrimental to me personally. But I need to do it. Need to go through this system. In order to fix something, you need to become part of it. And this wasn't my life plan, but this turns out maybe this is where I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to do in my life. This was the reason I'm here. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go through some of this, and some of the earlier parts of it just goes through my earlier childhood, information that I offered too. A lot of this stuff that wasn't requested from me, I handed in a packet of stuff about that thick, because I wanted him to be able to read everything that I gave him and really evaluate the situation. And there wasn't enough time spent on it. And that's where I was going a little earlier, and when I went off on a tangent, there was not enough time spent on that, on this whole thing. And the only reason there's so much information in it is because of the information that I provided. All right. Reason for referral. Mr. Barden was referred for a psychological evaluation in regard to in regard to pending criminal charges. Issues of concern are his current mental status, his state of mind at the time of offense, Rule 11 competency, and whether or not he might be found eligible for a guilty except insane defense. Eligible for a guilty except insane defense. Doesn't sound good. Examiner qualifications. So this is the person that examined me. And note that this office does psychological evaluations for police officer, correctional officer, other agents, etc., for return to duty. So if the police officer has been involved in a traumatic event, car accident, somebody's decapitated, so had to shoot somebody, whatever, they go to these people. These people evaluate that police officer or firefighter, whoever was in traumatic experience, and evaluate them to see if they are ready to go back to work. So they have a contract with law enforcement who is directly involved with gang stalking. So I think right there to begin with, and I didn't know this when I went in for my appointment, but that to begin with is a conflict of interest, just to start off with. Leave that at that. Okay, examiner qualifications. I have been a licensed psychologist in the state of Arizona since December of 1977. My first work in correctional setting was an employee of the Arizona State Department of Corrections as the Director of Clinical Services at Adobe Mountain Juvenile Institution, the largest long-term detention facility for juveniles in the state of Arizona. I was appointed to the Department of Corrections Task Force evaluating adult and juvenile correctional facilities to make programming recommendations and development programs to provide services to both adult and juvenile incarcerated offenders. I was Director of Treatment Services at the Alamo Juvenile Facility, which specifically targeted adjuncted delinquents with mental health problems. In private practice, I have held contracts with the Arizona Department of Corrections, Department of Juvenile Corrections, Maricopa County Superior Court, Pima County Superior Court, and Arizona Child Protective Services. I have completed offender risk assessments for government agencies in Arizona. Under state contract, I have provided criminal competency evaluations and sexually violent predator evaluations in private practice beginning in 1984 through present. I have provided numerous evaluations in criminal matters and have testified in court many times. I have developed inpatient treatment programs for substance use disorders and for the treatment of sexual offenders. I have worked with violent offenders in inpatient, outpatient, and correctional settings and have provided therapy to individuals suffering from serious mental illnesses. So this person has had contracts with all of these people that have been involved with gang stalking and targeting. Alrighty then. Assessment procedures, clinical review, 3/4/2018, Minnesota multiphasic personality interview, substance abuse subtle screening inventory, life history questionnaire including supplemental summaries about his life. So I filled out this 20-page packet of questions about my life. Documents reviewed but are not necessarily limited to the following. Okay, that's State of Arizona, Plano versus Michael Barden. Avondale Police Department, Officer Report Incident, Michael Barden. Okay, disposition. So that's the police, I forget what they call that thing. Okay, research links. Okay, so these are links that the psychological evaluator asked me for. So one thing that he said that threw me off is he mentioned that he does not trust the media, that it's fake media, fake news, but at the same time asked me for an article from the Washington Post or the New York Times about gang stalking to prove to him that gang stalking exists. So he said that he doesn't trust the news, but then asked for a mainstream media article to prove to him my claims. So what I did is I gave him some different links, and I didn't know that he was going to add this and this. I just thought he was going to research that and maybe contact a few people. And actually what I did too, I gave him, well, it's in here. But I told him that I could get somebody on the phone, and I was talking about Karen Melton Stewart. I said I can get a 28-year veteran of the NSA on the phone with you to further explain to you what I'm trying to tell you, that has been put into this program, who knows how it works. She understands the details. She's very smart, and she can explain this to you. She's one of the ones that wrote the affidavit that I have here to present to you to read regarding this whole situation. And he said, well, I can't even remember the way he said it, but it got defensive. Well, what am I going to do talking to some lady that worked for the NSA that thinks people are following her around? Something like that. I said, well, you could just listen to the facts that she presents to you, and then you can process that information and make a professional decision, which anybody can do if you research enough of this information. If you're not under contract with the federal government to not say anything about this. All right, so research links and documents received from defendant Michael Barden, article Current Psychiatry. So this is an article from Current Psychiatry that actually I did get from Karen Melton Stewart, and it was called Workplace Mobbing, Are They Really Out to Get Your Patient? This is an article in Current Psychiatry about workplace mobbing. Okay, I gave him a YouTube link for the SIS security video, the gang stalking agent that came out and spoke out about targeting people in Seattle. I gave him the link to that. That's one of the most important links, most important videos in targeting, is that guy explaining the program that well and being part of it. Let's see, I gave him Project MKUltra, the CIA's program of research in behavioral modification, joint hearing before the Select Committee on Intelligence and the Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research of the Committee on Human Resources, United States Senate, 95th Congress, 1977. That was like a 100-page document released from the federal government about MKUltra with the church committee hearings and everything, and yeah, I gave that to him. I gave him a link to explain the FBI floating box, and this is hard copy document. Did I give that to him in hard copy? I thought I emailed that to him. And then 100 directed energy and neurological weapons and organized stalking, torture, and abuse case summaries. That was from stop007.com. .org. There's contact information, emails and phone numbers to MKUltra victims, people that have been victims of non-consensual human experimentation, stalking, harassment, slander. Okay, so one of the other things I gave him were, this right here. I gave him FBI and CIA. Now he forgot to put NSA. But FBI and CIA affidavits from individuals formerly employed by the FBI and NSA. Oh, that sentence didn't make sense. Anyway, I gave him 4 affidavits. Karen Melton Stewart, Bill Binney, Ted Gunderson, and Gerald Sosby. Affidavits. Ted Gunderson is not with us anymore, but I had his affidavit, and I submitted those 4 to him. Gave him the link to Targeted Justice, so he could see Jack Christiana's recent case, which his reply when I said a case has just been won in Huntington Beach, California. And he goes, well, just because this is happening to one person, one place, doesn't mean that it's going on everywhere. It's happening to you, something like that. Well, my daughter did an awesome job by turning the dishwasher on, but it's a little noisy. I'm going to go turn it off. I'll be right back. Oh, my leg fell asleep, so I'm going to be back in like 2 minutes. Oh, great.
And I'm back. All right. All right, and I gave him a document, the DHS Scam and Human Trafficking of Innocent Citizens by Karen Melton Stewart, NSA Intelligence Analyst, retired. And then Karen Melton's bio. So that's all I gave him because I thought that he was going to research those, question me about those. I can give him some more documents that, after he questioned me about those, and we can work more into that, and he could actually dig into this and understand. He seemed like a smart guy. Okay. So here's what he started writing about me. Mr. Barden is a 43-year-old male, presently living in Avondale, Arizona, with his two children, ages 21 and 15. Mr. Barden has been married twice. His son was born with his first marriage, daughter born while he was in a relationship. Let's see. This is just basically I'll just keep reading it. His daughter was born while he was in a relationship with a girlfriend. Actually, that was my fiance. He had no children with his second wife. His father died at age 69 of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, which occurred while his father was receiving cancer treatment. Mr. Barden was 39 years of age at the time of his father's death. Actually, I was more like 35. Whatever. His mother is living and is 72 years old. Mr. Barden is a high school graduate. He describes his strengths as reading comprehension, problem solving, and multimedia visual arts. He is presently an entrepreneurial business owner with an approximate annual income of $50,000 per year. Past jobs include Skycap firefighter, independent insurance agency owner, and an antiques collectible dealer. He forgot to put journalist in there. He reports that he finds his current work is very satisfying. Mr. Barden reports having a past history of using marijuana rarely. He denies the use of abuse of alcohol or prescription drugs. He reports that he exercises and lives a healthy lifestyle. I do. Mr. Barden was interviewed in the examiner's office 4/4/2018 on the The clinical interviews were supplemented by a written background history provided by Mr. Barden. Mr. Barden reports that he was referred for this psychological evaluation by his attorney, and I won't say my attorney's name. The limits of confidentiality were explained to him and signed a forensic evaluation agreement. He also signed a release of information to his attorney, Mark Victor. Mr. Barden reports that he moved to Arizona 3 years ago. He is still legally married but separated from his second wife a year ago with a divorce pending. He currently is the owner of an eBay retail store called Hats Around the World, which specializes in vintage and antique items. Prior to this endeavor and before moving to Arizona, he was the owner of a 6,000 square foot antique store in California. And it was called Relic Rescue. Mr. Barden understands that he has pending charges of aggravated assault with a firearm, a dangerous felony class 3. He states there were 2 other charges against him that were dropped: evading police and disorderly conduct. Correct. In describing his childhood, he provided a multi-page document titled Examples of My Targeting. Okay, so this goes over, he just kind of explains the documents that I gave him covering a lot of my younger life. Experiences of targeting with in previous relationships. Talked about how my son's mother died on my birthday and how I felt that was suspicious. I talked about how my daughter's mom quit taking Effexor when we were in Washington. Aggressively acted out, held my daughter with a knife, and somehow the police arrested me for that. Until we went to court the next day and she explained what happened and they apologized that I had to go through that, let me go. Talked about how my current soon-to-be ex-wife was involved in this. that's kind of the long or the short of what this whole page is. Both of Mr. Barden's children are presently living with him, and he has raised them most of their lives as a single father. No, that's not true. I've had some help most of the time. His son, age 21, works in Mr. Barden's internet business, buying and selling on Craigslist. I never said that. His daughter is age 15, a high school student who plays softball and gets straight A's. He reports having a close bonded relationship with his children. Mr. Barden reports that the criminal charges against him came about as a result of the fact that he is being tracked 24/7. Okay, this is where it kind of gets important here. Okay. He reports that millions of people have been tracked and RFID, radio frequency identification chips, are implanted in them either during elective surgery or non-consensual procedures. Mr. Barden provided voluminous materials regarding government programs to track and harass targeted people. He provided 4 sworn affidavits backing up his allegations. He thinks that he must be chipped because he can't figure out any other way that he can be tracked so well. The RFIDs can pass through an injection needle. It is like a credit card chip, but smaller and put into your body. So he's writing down what basically the information he got from me. Okay, he's still talking about me. He says he quotes the Foreign Intelligence Security Act, FISA. Did I say security? I think he might have got that wrong. Quote Section 702 form and 12333 domestic as the basis of these programs. Both the NSA and FBI have people who have reported on this. Mr. Barden provides a very detailed explanation for these programs and how they operate, and the general purpose for them, but much of it is not well known even to him. He suspects there are also assassinations going on. He has 400 Facebook friends, about 6 have died since the beginning of the year. He explains to terms such as targeting, gaslighting, and mobbing, and provides documents and articles for my review on these topics. Mr. Barden first learned about these programs while in the military. Now, I haven't talked about this part right here. I haven't talked about this, but the more I go back, the more I think about this could have possibly been where my targeting started, because right after this, well, I'll explain what I'm talking about, is when my current girlfriend at the time disappeared. She just broke up with me. She didn't have good reasons. She was sobbing. She did not want to go, but she left. And then my wife showed up, and everything got very surreal. So I'll just go and read this. Mr. Barden first learned about these programs while in the military. Software Virtual Unit, SVU. The class was led by Chuck DeCaro, who was an Air Force test pilot, military operative, and CNN reporter. Eventually, Mr. Barden was not selected for the SVU team for some reason, and he subsequently became a targeted individual himself. Okay, I have not spoken about the SVU team that I interviewed with, that I trained with over a weekend with a guy named Chuck DeCaro, who Chuck was an Air Force test pilot. He was a special operator. He paddleboarded behind enemy lines to go do some crazy shit. My guess is he is CIA, but he coined the term soft war, not software. The guy wrote software down here. It's soft war, and software uses a virtual unit. Software virtual. No. This guy wrote this wrong. Anyway, so the SVU team that Chuck DeCaro led this class that I was invited to and explained what soft war was. And if you look up soft war, you can look it up Wikipedia, go on YouTube, look up Chuck DeCaro's videos on YouTube, and he speaks about soft war, and it's basically changing the enemy's perception of reality in order to overcome them in war without casualties. I was a part of this class. I watched videos, and we did other things in this class. I watched videos of fellow troops being hit with IEDs, hit with RPGs, multiple videos, propaganda videos from Al Qaeda that we searched through and found repetitive techniques that Al Qaeda was using to position their IEDs and time the bombing to hit vehicles. We figured some of this stuff out fairly quick. The team that we had all gotten together for this class, it was a mix of Air Force and Army, but we were all video people. You know, the CIA and the FBI, they would look at these videos, and there was different things that they weren't video people. They didn't edit video. They didn't film video. They weren't around it every single day. We were. So that's why he came to us to ask for this help and figure out a lot of the things that are going on in these videos. So as part of that class that weekend, Chuck was a really interesting guy. He actually slapped me in the face. It was more like a joking kind of thing, but he mentioned something about the Gestapo and gave me a little pop in the face, which I didn't like at all, but I kind of laughed and I was like, ha, yeah. But shortly after I was part of this team is when my targeting got noticeable, very noticeable. Things changed in my life. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know these people were capable of doing this, but things did change. And now that I look back, this is a very, very important part of my life where I think this could have done some things. Software, look it up, SOFTWAR. Chuck actually was shot 3 times. 2016, he was in a hotel with his wife, who's also a CNN news anchor, and they said that an armed gunman came into the room to rob them, to steal their purse or whatever, and then Chuck ended up grabbing a purse that had a firearm in it, shot the guy shot back, shot Chuck 3 times. I think the other guy died, but in my opinion, that was more than a robbery. There was probably something going down with some information trading or something like that. And, who knows? Hard to say. Chuck's an interesting guy, though. Can't say I didn't like him. I liked him. He just might be a little CIA. So, okay, next paragraph. Mr. Barden reports that he received a plaque as an award for being the Insurance Agent of the Year with Farmers Insurance, but yeah, and I did. I was Insurance Agent of the Year for Farmers Insurance. But I started getting sabotaged at the insurance agency. He believes people were going to his office and accessing his computer, deleting his files, etc. Items were being moved all over when he was out of his office and put in places where they should not be. Eventually, he sold the insurance agency. Okay, so that started happening. And I was at the district office. I was in a shared office. No locks were allowed on any of the doors because it was a shared office, and the district manager wanted to be able to go into your office. So basically, anybody that had a key to our district office could go in on the weekend. They go on anybody's computer. If nobody's in the office, they could sabotage you. And then there was competition between the agents. So some agents didn't like the other agent, especially who are they usually going for? The top guy. Who was the top guy? Me, Agent of the Year, right? So basically what he's going after is I'm being paranoid because I think that people are going onto my computer, deleting files, deleting documents that I need. Well, guess what was happening? My computer somebody was going onto my computer. Documents were missing that I needed, that I know that I had downloaded the day before or scanned or whatever. I paid attention to, obviously, to my business. I did good. I was the best at it in our district, so it's not like I was just some slacker that wasn't keeping track of my stuff. It was being sabotaged, and people were going onto my computer. Who knows what they were logging onto on my IP address? Going in the middle of the night, log on to some pedophile bullshit, and guess what? That's on my computer. I can't prove who was on my computer. It's at the insurance agency, 6 miles away from my house. I'm at home in bed.
Dave Deadmore, the asshole insurance agency that insurance agent that wants to beat me in the competition, might want to do some nefarious stuff like that. That happens. People conspire. People sabotage. Nothing delusional about understanding that fact of life. Keep that in mind. Okay. Michael states that he began getting harassed by neighbors behind him with little dogs that pooped and barked continuously and pooped continuously. And by neighbors who gunned their engines in front of his house or shined their car headlights into his home. People would knock on his doors at all hours asking to borrow water and batteries. He referred to some of these activities as street theater. At one point, he realized that someone was listening to his personal conversations and relaying that back to him to let him know he was being watched. There's a little 5 right there, and there's a note down at the bottom. Okay. Here, I'll read that note. 5. Mr. Barden used different terminology with high-tech definitions as how the surveillance was accomplished on him. His descriptions were consistent with thought broadcasting or thought insertion systems in patients with auditory hallucinations. Referred to some of these activities as street theater. At one point, he realized that someone was listening to his personal conversations, relaying them back to him to let him know he was being watched. A few times, he was playing his electric guitar, and the music cut out, and Russian radio started playing. This happened to me in Norman, Oklahoma, twice. He found a huge pile of roof tiles piled up outside of his door, so he couldn't open it. That happened to me. Tried to go into my art studio one day, and somebody ripped all the shingles off the roof and piled them right in front of the front door. That wasn't a delusion. I saw it. The police officer I called saw it. They took the report. He saw that. There's nothing delusional about that. That was an actual thing that happened. The above were some examples of what Mr. Barden reports is a lengthy history of having been harassed and targeted. He believes his second wife, Jill, was directly involved in targeting him. His wife would tell him there was nothing out of the ordinary going on, and she would tell him she didn't know what he was talking about. Yeah, that's called gaslighting. When a perpetrator denies active denial. They deny everything because they're legally, contractually bound not to say anything. Mr. Barden reports a history of people following him around in public, following him in traffic, and making unwanted eye contact with him when he was with his wife. No, that all the time. I said that happens all the time. Maybe he missed. Yeah. Well, after 2 hours of listening, it's hard to get all the facts straight with a person, I guess. So maybe you need to take more time. She would signal the people observing him by adjusting her sunglasses or stroking her hair. That doesn't sound familiar to anybody out there, right? She was gaslighting at this time and lying to his face to make him question his own sanity. He reports that when his second wife left him, all she said to him was, "I'm sorry," with no other explanation. Yes, that is correct. After 9 years. I'm sorry. What? For what? I thought you said you panicked and you had to leave. You're sorry. What are you sorry about? What did you do to me? Did you have a fake relationship? Yes, I think that's what you whispered I'm sorry about. Or maybe you were mind controlled or something. Shit, who knows? It's hard. It's the amount of time, effort, and thought that went into some of the things she did to me. I can't imagine that it's just being mind controlled or coerced. She got enjoyment out of saying some of the things that she did. Get the smirk of enjoyment, the smirk of winning. Face, sanity, not many people on target. Mr. Barden notes that many of the people who target him drive Chrysler Corporation model cars. Yeah. Challengers, Chargers, Dodge trucks, Jeeps. Anybody else get this? These cars would be staged in the parking lot and would follow him. Sometimes they would impede his forward progress going through the parking lot, trying to park or back out. Yes, that's one of the worst places. People entering businesses at the same time as him would always use some kind of hand signal to alert people inside
that a target is arriving. He would have conversations that would always seem rehearsed. He would always have conversations that seemed rehearsed and fake. When these people got his attention and got the message across that the conversation was intended for him, people would give a smirk of gratification. Mr. Barden notices that many things are too frequent and unusual to be coincidences, such as police, fire, and EMS would run their lights and sirens at the exact moment they would pass him, then shut them off as the call was canceled. As a former firefighter, this would not happen by chance. Yes, actually, it could happen by chance. Actually, it does happen quite a bit. When you get a call, you're rolling code 3, you're on your way to a call, they end the call. No more emergency. Talk with dispatcher cancels everything, you cancel code 3, you turn around, you head back to the house. That happens every now and then. But when it happens right in front of me, right as they're passing me, 50 times in a row. So if I pass an emergency vehicle 50 times, and each time they go by me, they decide to go code 3 right before they approach me, and then turn it off right when they go past me, I notice that as a pattern, and that it's not normal, and that the law of large numbers or statistics tells me that, if doing this before, that it's impossible for that to happen that many times in a row. Calls don't get canceled that much. I mean, they get canceled, but not to the point where that would happen to me over and over and over and over and over again. Which is why I was wondering why they would use that tactic on somebody that was actually a firefighter before that understands the different codes, code 1, code 2, code 3. I don't know. Maybe somebody didn't think that part out, or just wanted me to explain that part so it would sound crazy, but I mean, it makes perfect sense what I'm saying. In taking the sum of his experiences, he reports, at this point I realized that I was a part of something very nefarious. Something very powerful was trying to hurt me, and I needed to do something about it. He began using a GoPro camera with a window mount in his car and a mount for his iPhone, and started recording himself talking about situations he was involved in. Mr. Barden had a video which he had taken of the events prior to his arrest on his current charges, which he viewed as exculpatory, including the alleged victim with his arm hanging out of the car door holding what I believe to be a gun in the individual's hand. I showed the psychological evaluator this video, my attorney this video, they both seen the video of the guy calling me a faggot ass, and then a couple seconds later, brandishing a firearm out of his window. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that a hate crime? Mr. Barden has found it very strange that since his arrest, all of the harassment tactics and surveillance of him appear to have ceased. He views that as evidence that people who have targeted him achieve the goal of getting him into trouble and possibly having him arrested and incarcerated. Because of their success in getting him into trouble, there is no need at present to follow the course in action of targeting him. And I couldn't get him to explain if this was a delusion, and why did the delusion stop immediately after the arrest happened. And now, a week ago, the gang stalking started back up again. So how would I, if I had a delusional mind, how would I just stop having these delusions immediately after I was arrested, and then for them to start back up 1 week before I have to go back into court? That doesn't make much sense to me, or I think any professional. Okay, now I'm going to stop right there, because then it goes into the MMPI inventory and how I scored on it and what it says about that score. Probably won't be the best way to start off a video if that's the only video somebody watches, because this is the part that's not good. But in the long run will be good, because it explains some delusions that I have that are literally just things that I have observed in public. Things that it's almost degrading that somebody could tell you that you're delusional for witnessing reality. And even when you have video proof of things. There are thousands of people that are having the exact same things happen to them, and there is information coming out through WikiLeaks and other sources about this kind of thing that are getting more and more and more and more proof that this is actually happening. But these people are they're going to fight it all the way to the end, because this MMPI test and the ability to say somebody is crazy by observing reality is a big link in the chain that is holding us down. So I'm going to end on that note, and I will continue this either tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure. I am not sure. But thank you everybody for listening, and keep researching this. Look into the MMPI. Call your congressman, your senator. Explain to them that organized stalking and harassment is occurring, that people that are being evaluated are not being evaluated based on reality, but based on an old, outdated test. Those people's lives are being affected, and they're being affected negatively, and they're basically being enslaved because of an outdated, corrupt system that punishes vigilant people, vigilant, honest people. Really look into that. Contact everybody that you need to contact. Get this test changed. MMPI, Minneapolis Multiphasic Personality Inventory. That's the only one that I know of, but these questions here specifically, that's one thing I wanted to go over real quick. This is what I'll end on, I'm sorry. So in the test, one of the questions that it asks you are, it says, I'm being followed by people. Yes or no? Okay. I answered that question yes, because I've been followed by people. Not only have I had a history of being followed by people, but as I was reading that exact question, am I being followed by people? This electronic ankle monitor that I have goes off, starts beeping. Contact your officer now. It's like this demanding voice. Contact your officer now. Contact your officer now. I'm taking this psychological evaluation test. The test administrator is right there across from me. She looks up at me, nervous, like, oh my God, what'd you do? You know? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm trying to get this thing to stop. I'm trying to get it to go off. And I tell her, yeah, they're trying to tell me to contact the officer. I don't know what's going on. Can I? So she's like, well, yeah, go ahead and give him a call. So I call him. She's sitting right in front of me. Call him, and he's like, hey, Mike, how you doing, buddy? Hey, man, I just happened to be over on this side of town, and I noticed that you were just like a block away. So I need to go ahead and meet up with you right now. And I'm like, that's impeccable timing. Yeah, I'm taking a test right now. Oh, really? What are you taking a test on? I said, well, it's kind of private. I'm just here taking care of something that I need to take care of. Can I get with you later? And he's like, well, yeah, I just need to, I need to meet up with you out in public. It's part of the, meet up with you out in the field. And, you're not usually away from your house too much. So I just needed to meet up with you while you're here. I'll just come in where you're at. I said, no, that's okay. I'd rather you not. I will, when I get done with my appointment, with what I'm doing, I can meet you outside. So he goes, yeah, just when you get done. I said, I'll be done in about 20 minutes or so, I think. And then I'll give you a call. And then when I get done, I'll meet you outside. So he goes, yeah, just give me a call. So I actually got done in like 5 minutes. There wasn't as much left of the test as I thought. Got done in about 5 minutes. Gave him my test. Said thanks. Talk to you later. Headed out. Gave him a call, and he's like, whoa, what happened to 20 minutes? I thought you were going to be 20 minutes. He said, I don't know, man. I got finished faster than I thought I would. He goes, okay, well, I'll be heading over that way. Just stay where you're at, and I'll meet you in the parking lot. I go, yeah, it's kind of hard to find in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out on the street. I'm going to pull over to the side of the road, and you'll be able to see me. I'm in my black 4Runner. I'll just sit on the side of the road, and you can just pull up behind me, and you can come talk to me if you want. So I turned my video camera on, and he pulled up. I had to sit there and wait for him like 5 minutes. He finally pulled up, got out on the side of the car. We was acted friendly. Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing? What's going on? You good? So this is you out. This is out doing your thing, huh? What you doing? What do you do? What's going on? What do you do? Where you at? What are you doing? I said, I'm just out. What's going on? You know. He wanted to know where I was at. Wanted to know what I was doing. And the point is, that thing asked me if I was being followed. I literally got followed to my appointment where I was taking the test, asking me if I was being followed or not. That I got followed to, and I answered yes, but on the test, because I answered yes, it shows that I'm possibly delusional because I think people are following me. So do you understand the hypocrisy of this? Do you understand that you can make a literal statement about something that happened to you actually at the time that you were answering the question, and they can tell you that you're delusional because you noticed that, because you were vigilant enough to know that you were followed there. And if somebody is responsible for your downfall, i.e. your handler, or somebody in general that had it out for you, they pulled the rug out from behind you, they blackballed you, blacklisted you, they make it impossible for you to get a job, they stole money from you, they hurt you, they physically abused you, you know, and they were responsible for you going in a downward spiral, not your own actions. That person that was pursuing you, that was going after you, that was stalking you, that was hurting you. If you know that person's name and you say that you know that who is responsible for your downfall, you, my friend, are delusional according to the MMPI. So these are the kind of things that they subtract reality from somebody that actually has been abused, somebody that has been followed, somebody that has been given these manipulative scenarios by organized groups of conspirators. And the term conspiracy theory was not made by the CIA, but making the term conspiracy theory attached to crazy people. The CIA did that for you. Conspiracies actually happen. People conspire and they do things. And if you notice it, you're not a paranoid person. You're a person that is vigilant. And you are probably a survivor. You are somebody that is a strong person that can look out for yourself. But these weak people that are small-minded, that join into big groups just to take over other people, they don't view the world the same as you. They view it as you are their target. They're intimidated by you. They're afraid of you, and they need to cancel you out in order to keep you from divulging their secrets, divulging the scams that they've built up into society. And the only way to do that is to just call you crazy, not prove any of your facts wrong, but to bypass that, ignore all of your facts, and give you a diagnosis. All right. Gotta go to the bathroom. I will see you all later.